Pierce, a woman left free.
Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Both of LA's NFL teams are officially in the playoffs. San Francisco's 48-27 win over Indianapolis Monday night gave the Chargers a wild card spot in the AFC playoffs. The 11-4 Chargers are a game behind Denver in the AFC West. If the Chargers win their last two games against Houston and Denver, they'll claim their first AFC West title since 2009. The Chargers play Houston Sunday at SoFi. Congratulations to Pam Oliver, NFL sideline reporter with Fox Sports for 30 years. Pam will be inducted into the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame class of 2026. Pam is a 1984 graduate of HBCU Florida A&M. The Lakers and Clippers are back in action tonight. The Lakers are at Phoenix. Luka Doncic, the NBA's leading scorer, is not playing. He's got a leg contusion. The Clippers will jump it up against Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson.
Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 15.
KBLA Talk 15. And are particularly grateful as we enter this political season. One of the most important and influential members of the United States as our very special guest in this hour, the Honorable Robert Bobby Scott, joins us live on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show during his tenure in the Virginia General Assembly. Congressman Scott successfully sponsored laws critical to Virginians in education, employment and healthcare, social services, economic development, crime prevention, and consumer protection. His legislative successes in the General Assembly included laws that increased Virginia's minimum wage, created the Governor's Employment and Training Council, and improved healthcare benefits for women, infants, and children. His 1992 election to Congress gave Congressman Scott the distinction of being the first African American elected to Congress from Virginia since John Mercer Langston's election more than 100 years earlier during the Reconstruction era. Having maternal grandfather of Filipino ancestry also gives him the distinction of being the first American with Filipino ancestry to serve as a voting member of Congress. Congressman Scott, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Congressman, there's so much more that I can share with our listeners, and I will over the course of the next hour, but I really, really want to jump right into it. Because of your knowledge, because of your service, because of your commitment to the people of Virginia, but equally as important at this hour, because of your service and commitment to the people of the United States and the fidelity that you've shown to the Constitution of the United States. Congressman, the next year, and I know we say it in every election season, we've got to vote, we've got to vote. This election is more important than the next. The next year, at least from my perspective, we are confronting a watershed moment as a nation. And I don't know anyone who can contextualize that better than yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Bobby Scott. Congressman?
Good to see you, Jesse, and it's good to be on your show.
Always a pleasure to have you, sir. How serious is what's taking place in Washington? And how engaged must the American people be at this hour in the political process?
Well, I think if you look on a number of different levels, it's critical that people pay attention to this election and make sure the right people get elected. We've had a president who apparently just doesn't believe the laws apply to him and has done whatever he wants regardless of the laws. Regrettably, the Supreme Court has given him a green light, said, he can't be prosecuted for anything he does as president. I think we've got to notice that the Republicans in Congress won't even ask a question about anything he's done. Most recent example of these bombings of boats near Venezuela, where I think most commentators have said there's no justification, no legal justification for that. And so you've got a debate of whether it's a war crime or just murder. And the Republicans won't ask any questions. We used to have a process in Washington called resolution of inquiry, where anyone could make a motion along the lines of, I move we ask the Secretary of Education the following question. And then all in favor say aye, all opposed say no, and they vote no. They won't even ask the question. They got so tired of us asking them to ask questions that they abolished the process. We can't even ask them to ask questions anymore. And so all of this activity, whether or not it's a war crime or murder, questions just aren't being asked. When they do show up, they're so insulting that you wonder why they bothered to show up, and they just don't feel bound by the law. I mean, I would think that if either the House or the Senate came into Democratic control after the next election, we would be able to ask witnesses to come forward and ask questions about what's going on. What was the justification? Where's the legal memo? What did the JAG officers say as to what was going on and whether it was legal or not? It would be interesting to see. I know the commanding general in that area resigned abruptly. And according to published reports, it's because he wouldn't agree that with these bombings without any apparent justification. And so it's important because we need to have people in there that would at least ask the questions and hold people accountable for breaking the law.
Congressman, I'm more convinced than ever that the legislative branch of the government itself has been weakened under President Trump, in large measure because of this kind of unitarian direction that the court itself is ruling. I know we have about 30 seconds before we come forward, but I did want to share with you, I've never seen a Supreme Court that's cooperated with an administration quite like this one.
Well, the Supreme Court has just been, frankly, in my judgment, an embarrassment. When you say someone can't commit a crime, whatever he does, and anything he does is okay, and then you can tell how they're going to rule by how long they take. If they're going to rule in his favor, they rule lickety-split. If they're going to rule against him, they drag it out to where the case is virtually moot by the time you get around to it. The plaintiff, the people on his side will appeal to the Supreme Court, and they'll hold it and hold it and hold it, and then they get to the next step and they appeal again. Won't even get to the end. They never get to the end of the case. That's what happened in all his criminal trials. So they've been an embarrassment. But the legislative branch has just shown, the majority has shown an unwillingness to ask any questions. They just have shown that they'll go along with about anything he does.
Maybe one of the most important conversations we will have going into the new year is the conversation we're having with the Honorable Bobby Scott here on KBLA Talk 1580. What a year in politics we are going to have in the midterms. We have a lot to talk about on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest, the Honorable Bobby Scott.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If your car is out of warranty, one major repair bill could wipe you out. Just ask Ludacris.
Car breakdowns can wreck your wallet. Without Endurance, a worn-out timing belt could cost you $1,700. A busted transmission, that's $4,000 easy. An engine meltdown, $7,000. But if you've got Endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a car repair again. With Endurance, your car's most expensive parts are covered. Plus, you pick the mechanic you trust to do the work. With Endurance, your rate stays the same no matter how many claims you file.
If your car is under 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan includes 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country. Choose the name Ludacris trusts, Endurance. Right now, get $300 off any plan, plus a year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free. All backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. For your free quote, call 800-498-2843. 800-498-2843. 800-498-2843.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
One year ago, flames tore through Altadena and Eaton Canyon, changing lives forever. From the ashes, can a beloved community rise stronger? Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, host of First Things First, weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., here on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm inviting you to join us on Wednesday, January 7th, as we broadcast live from Perry's Joint on the 1-year anniversary of this horrific and devastating fire. We're remembering those we lost, celebrating the heroes and sheroes who answered the call, and honoring the resilience of neighbors who are determined to rebuild together.
I've been a strong Black woman a long time, and I can't just break down now.
Hear the stories of survival, the voices of recovery, the spirit of community that the fire couldn't destroy, and yes, the angst of those who still do not know where they go from here.
Yeah, where am I gonna go?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we don't just cover the story, we're part of this community, and we've done our level best to hold those responsible for this fire accountable. And 1 year later, we're still standing together.
It is my hopes that Black people will rebuild those homes.
So join us live at Perry's Joint, 2051 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th, as we commemorate the 1 year anniversary of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Because some stories demand to be remembered.
This too shall pass.
This KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall is sponsored by LA Fire Justice.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
1580. In the 119th Congress, Congressman Scott serves as the ranking member of the Committee on Education and the Workforce. Term as the committee's Democratic leader. Throughout his tenure, he has advanced legislation that improves equity in education, frees students from the burdens of debt, protects and expands access to affordable health care, ensures workers have a safe workplace where they can earn a living wage free from discrimination, and guarantees seniors have a secure and dignified retirement. Congressman Scott also serves on the Committee on the Budget, where he's the leading voice on fiscal policy. Congressman Scott, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's good to be back, Jesse, and it's good to see you.
Congressman, it's always a pleasure, and it was an honor having the privilege of serving with you for the 8 or 9 terms that I served in the Congress of the United States. I don't know a voice who is clearer on the backdrop against the history of African Americans in Congress that is clearer than yours. You are the first African American to be elected to the state of Virginia from the Congress, for the Congress of the United States since Reconstruction. And as you know, during first Reconstruction, 14 African Americans had the privilege of serving in Congress, 2 in the United States Senate. But by the turn of the century, there were 0 African Americans in Congress. Our very next guest in the next hour is our mutual friend, Attorney Barbara Arnwine from the Transformative Justice Coalition. We've been talking about Robinson versus Calais. We've been talking about Louisiana versus Calais, whatever it's presently called before the court. And there is anxiety for the 62 African Americans in the Congress of the United States at this hour that we could be looking at, even in the midterms, a repeat of first Reconstruction with a significant reduction in the number of African Americans elected under the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and particularly Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Congressman, please take your time and share with us your thoughts.
Well, first of all, John Mercer Langston served, and they contested his election. So by the time he got seated, it was about the primary for the next election, which he lost. So he only served 6 months in Congress, about 100 years before I got elected. What they're trying to do now is slowly complete the total dismantling of the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act passed in 1965. And if you go back and look at some places like Mississippi, some counties in Mississippi, you can almost name the African Americans in the county a majority Black county that were registered to vote. You know, you'd say, well, Steve and Sam was registered. You know, I mean, you can name them. After the Voting Rights Act passed, slowly but surely, Blacks are now voting close to their portion of the population. And so they're trying to dismantle it and go backwards. There are 3 major cases that have been involved. You mentioned Section 2. Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was what's called preclearance. Those states that had a history of discrimination were required to submit any voting change to the Department of Justice to show and prove, the burden is on them, on the state, to prove that it's not discriminatory. And until they get preclearance, the new act cannot go into effect. When they passed, when the Supreme Court ruled that that provision was unconstitutional, officials in North Carolina and Texas were quoted as saying, "Oh, good, now we can pass these bills that we've been trying to pass." A statement that would make no sense unless they knew they couldn't be pre-cleared as discriminatory. And so that was the first real blow. And now they're passing all these discriminatory laws. And now the burden is on the victims of discrimination to come forward, come up with the money to fight the illegal acts. The perpetrators, the guys that pass the bills, get to enjoy the fruits of their illegal activity until the victims can actually get it overturned, and that can be years. And so that's that was the first blow. The next is when they had a case that said, well, if you have a district redistricting that is partisan in nature, you can do that. We're not going to intervene. And the problem with that is you can have a map that discriminates against Democrats and another map that discriminates against blacks, which remains illegal, but it can be the same map. And they say, well, if you called it partisan, then you can get away with it. And you can discriminate against blacks so long as you call it discrimination against a party, not a race. And so they've been able to pass discriminatory redistricting maps by calling it partisan. And the third is this exception they've come up with. If it's close to the election, they'll let the thing go forward, even though there's a finding that the map is discriminatory. Oh, it's too close to the election, we'll let it go forward. When we had preclearance, they could not go forward. They could not have an election under illegal maps because it wasn't pre-cleared. And so with those three, along with some other cases just making it more difficult to prove discrimination, they're in a situation where they've been able to work their will and discriminate. The last blow will be to just get rid of the voting rights altogether. That's the Louisiana case that's pending now. You can get a sense of what the decision is going to be when they schedule the announcement. If they announce it early, you know they've voted to eliminate it. If they wait till June, then they know they've upheld the Voting Rights Act. That's been the pattern when the Supreme Court rules in favor of President Trump. They rule lickety split. If they're ruling against him, like I said, they wait till the last minute. But now we're in a situation now where the law prohibiting discrimination in voting has been so weakened already, and we're just waiting to see whether they're going to just eliminate the Voting Rights Act altogether in the Louisiana case. But the fact that it's close in the Texas case, when they went to the brand new gerrymandering, where President Trump told them to find 5 seats, and they said, well, we're going to find 5 seats for Republicans. And so they did it as a partisan gerrymander. And you look at the 5 seats that they eliminated, 2 are represented by Hispanics, 2 are represented by African Americans. But it's okay, apparently, because it's close to election. But they're not even going to be able to litigate it because it's now close to an election, and they filed as soon as they could. I mean, it's not like anybody waited. They filed as soon as they could. they're going to go ahead and have the election with the new districts. Now, the curious thing about it is the underlying redistricting they had was under attack, and I think the court was about to rule that it was unconstitutional as an illegal gerrymander before the new maps even came about. And the court the court ruled that said, well, at least go back to the old ones because these new ones are worse. Then the Supreme Court said, no, it's too close to the election. That caused too much confusion. Let's go with these that are worse. Now, the court has already ruled that they're illegal discrimination. But the court has ruled already in that too close to the election exception that they should go forward, even though the court has found that it's probably going to, the final ruling is going to be that they're illegal. It'd be interesting to see, in March, April, if the court finally gets around to it and says, oh, yes, the final judgment is they are illegal, but the election is underway, so what could we do? You would think they would say, well, you stop the election, move the filing deadlines back, and have some legal redistricting lines, but that's not what's in front of them. This court has allowed all kinds of little sneaky ways, like calling racial discrimination, calling it partisan rather than racial, wait till the last minute, and close to the election, you can go forward with an illegal map. And none of it has to be pre-cleared based on the decision they made about 10 or 15 years ago. So we're in a bad situation. And you had mentioned in the last segment the importance of voting. President Trump told you, if you vote for him this time, you won't have to vote for him again. I mean, some of the people I was hearing won't get to vote for anybody again. You won't have a right to vote. We have to make sure that we vote in the midterms to be able to preserve whatever right to vote we have left after the Supreme Court has finished.
I'm convinced more than ever that in the final analysis, the argument for partisanship, and I know we have just about a minute before we come forward for a break, that Democrats and Republicans, when locked into the state legislatures without our presence in the state legislatures, they tend to fight the partisan battle. We want more Democrats, they want more Republicans. And somehow, during these Reconstruction ending periods, African Americans get caught in the crossfire without any representation in the Congress of the United States at all. Barbara Arnwine shared with us from a Black Lives Matter voter fund last week that if, in fact, the Robinson versus Clay decision is ruled and strikes down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, we could end up losing 189 state legislative seats that are behind the Voting Rights Act itself. Beyond the congressional maps are these state officials who argue for the creation of these districts in the Congress of the United States. Our very special guest is really one of the deans of the Congressional Black Caucus, one of the longest serving members of the Congress, the last bit of experience, the last bit of hope, the last bit of knowledge that ties first Reconstruction to second Reconstruction and all of this history together. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than the Honorable Bobby Scott of Virginia. More with Bobby Scott when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul say construction on Manhattan's Kips Bay Science Park and Research Campus is set to begin in 2027.
This is where we will invent new vaccines, cure chronic diseases.
The project is expected to create 15,000 jobs and serve as a hub for life sciences and education. The Trump administration is threatening to cut funding for the Smithsonian unless it hands over details on exhibits and internal documents. A letter says funding for its museums, such as the National Museum of African American History and Culture and the National Zoo, depends on complying with an executive order banning so-called divisive content, including racial and transgender topics. And a Brooklyn jury awarded over $2.5 million to Bridget Pierce, a woman left brain damaged after New York Police Department officers slammed her to the ground during a 2020 George Floyd protest. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Both of LA's NFL teams are officially in the playoffs. San Francisco's 48-27 win over Indianapolis Monday night gave the Chargers a wild card spot in the AFC playoffs. The 11-4 Chargers are a game behind Denver in the AFC West. If the Chargers win their last two games against Houston and Denver, they'll claim their first AFC West title since 2009. The Chargers play Houston Sunday at SoFi. Congratulations to Pam Oliver, NFL sideline reporter with Fox Sports for 30 years. Pam will be inducted into the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame class of 2026. Pam is a 1984 graduate of HBCU Florida A&M. The Lakers and Clippers are back in action tonight. The Lakers are at Phoenix. Luka Doncic, the NBA's leading scorer, is not playing. He's got a leg contusion. The Clippers will jump it up against Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Did you know that streaming music, ebooks, audiobooks, movies, and more is available for free from the Los Angeles Public Library? With your library card, you can access the latest music and movies, audiobooks and ebooks, graphic novels, comic books, magazines, and more. If you don't have a library card and live in the city of Los Angeles, you can get a digital card online for free. Check it out at lapl.org/emedia. That's lapl.org/emedia.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on the J Lunch Club.
Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 15.
Our very special guest, Congressman Bobby Scott of Virginia, was born on April 30th, 1947 in Washington, D.C., and he grew up in Newport News, Virginia. He's a graduate of Harvard College and Boston College Law School. After graduating from law school, he returned home to Newport News and practiced law from 1973 to 1991. Congressman, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, it's good to be here, Jesse.
Congressman, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Congressman, let me pivot, if you don't mind, to health care and to the current state of the Affordable Care Act. You know, on the outside of Congress looking in, I thought it was a valiant fight that all of you all put up, shutting the government down, hold the government and the president accountable to the Affordable Care Act and the tax credits necessary to save the American people from high premiums associated with the Affordable Care Act. I like using the term, Congressman, Affordable Care Act, because when both of us were on the floor of the Congress of the United States voting for it, at that hour, we didn't call it Obamacare. We recognized that 44 million people needed, who work every day, affordable care. Just like I don't like using the term SNAP benefits, it's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, meaning people who work 1, 2, and 3 or more jobs a day, who still can't afford to eat at the end of their work. They need more than SNAP benefits. They need supplemental nutrition assistance. And so the names keep changing, which kind of clouds the judgment of the American people. Congressman, can you share with us and our listeners the state of healthcare in America, what the fight is really about, and nutrition programs?
Well, I think you got to put it in perspective. The last segment was on redistricting. We didn't go into the fact that they're stealing seats, starting not with Texas, but with North Carolina last year. Last year, in last November's election, they had stolen 3 seats. They went from a 7-7 congressional district, and as they were electing a Democratic governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, because of the gerrymandering, they elected 10 Republicans, 4 Democrats. They picked up 3 seats. Those 3 seats represent the majority in Congress. Had the Democrats had those 3 seats, we'd have 218. We'd have elected 218. They'd have 217. They never could have passed the big ugly bill that cut health care and the nutrition benefits. for tax cuts for the wealthy. We could be asking questions. So that redistricting makes a difference. The health care is so important. And one of the problems is they don't show any real appreciation for the healthcare system. I think you can cut Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, and it doesn't. If you're not on those, then it doesn't affect you. Yes, it does. If you're in a rural area, fewer people insured means your rural hospital is probably going to close. If you have 15 million new people in the system uninsured, they have a name for what happens. It's called cost shifting of indigent care. They go to the hospital and don't pay. Everybody else pays a little extra. So if you have a system where you're cutting people's health insurance, look out, because your insurance will go up. And that's what's been going on. The Affordable Care Act premiums that we improved during COVID, those improvements are going away, and a lot of people will see their premiums double, triple, and quadruple. And I think as people are signing up, they're finding out we weren't lying when we said that. We meant it. And a lot of people will find that they can't afford the insurance, and they will go into indigent care, and the system will pick it up. And so the fact that we didn't have those 3 seats that they stole from North Carolina meant that they could pass that big ugly bill, $4.5 trillion. They could have extended the Affordable Care Act enhanced tax credits for 3 years for about 0.1 trillion. They didn't do it. It was all tax cuts, mostly tax cuts for the rich, a little of this and a little of that, but cutting health care instead of improving health care. They could have done a lot better if they're going to spend that kind of money. They didn't, and that's why we're in the mess we're in today.
Congressman, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, one of the wealthiest nations in the history of the world, and yet we're still fighting to get something to eat.
Well, you know, and the big ugly bill made it worse. And it has, that serves as lead Democrat on the Education Committee. If you're on SNAP, you're automatically eligible for free lunch. If you lose those benefits, then you have to sign up and show income and all that. Half the people don't ever get through the process. And so a lot of students will lose their access to free lunch because of all of the paperwork that's created by virtue of the big ugly bill. It's just going in the wrong direction, and we can afford to have people have nutritious meals. If you look at a $4.5 trillion bill, mostly tax cuts for the wealthy, we can do better than that.
Congressman, we have about 3 minutes before we come forward. I'd like your comments on inmate telehealth, as well as the abuse by Donald Trump of the pardon power.
Well, healthcare, we've learned how to use telehealth. The problem with healthcare for inmates has been a problem for a long time. The fact is that when inmates complain, they always aren't given the appropriate medical care. I introduced legislation that's been signed by President Clinton and President Obama, and it hasn't been implemented the way it should be implemented, the Deaths in Custody Act, to review each death in custody in jails and prisons or in the process of arrest. Review it and just report it so it can be reviewed. If we see medical malpractice and that kind of thing going on, we would know it through that process. Regrettably, the presidents, since the very beginning, and that's almost 20 years ago, haven't fully implemented that law, and we haven't gotten the benefits of it. But the inmates are not getting the medical treatment that they desperately need. You can go a long way with telemedicine, but you're also going to need some in-person medicine in addition to that. The pardon power, there's traditionally been a process where the Department of Justice or the President's Counsel's Office will review any pardon requests and make a recommendation. He skips all that process and just pardons people. Interestingly enough, the one that left the bombs around January 6th that just got arrested, people say he might get pardoned. I'm surprised they're not saying he's already been pardoned, because the pardon of all the people around January 6th, he may have been in that bunch. I don't know why he's not arguing that he has been pardoned for leaving the bombs, because that was an activity around January 6th. And so why is he being prosecuted?
Good point.
That would be an interesting argument to make, and they're not making it yet.
I know we're going to come forward with Congressman Bobby Scott in just a moment. I do want to comment on that just before we do go to break. However, after you finish your time, the Department of Justice won't even let you fill out a pardon application until you've been out of prison for 5 more years. They unconstitutionally tack on to the pardon process an additional 5 years that has not been given to you by the judge. I find personally that to be outrageous. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our very special guest is the distinguished gentleman from Virginia, the Honorable Bobby Scott. We'll talk about education when we come forward in the final segment of our hour.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
In California, all workers have rights, no matter their immigration status. If you or a family member were detained by federal immigration authorities and did not receive your final paycheck, contact the Labor Commissioner's office. You can file a claim even if you left California or the U.S. Call 833-526-4636 from the U.S. or outside the country 001-833-526-4636. Document wage theft and report it to the Labor Commissioner's office.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or price stopped. Opt out.
Hey man, how did the date go?
I had to cancel. I don't get paid until Friday.
You didn't know that you can get up to a $750 paycheck advance with the Current app?
Where was that information yesterday?
All you have to do is download the app, see if you qualify. $750. Boom.
You think I should call her back?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
All right.
Need money before payday? Current has you covered. Set up an eligible direct deposit to see if you qualify for a paycheck advance of up to $750. Get ahead with Current. Text ACTION to 323232 to sign up today. That's ACTION to 323232. ACTION to 323232. ACTION to 323232.
Paycheck advance is offered by FindCo Advance LLC, a financial technology company, not an FDIC-insured bank. Eligibility and available amounts may vary and are subject to change at any time. For full terms and conditions, visit current.com or call 1-888-851-3177 for more information.